Welcome to the Canon in 5. We take the most reputable books in history and distill them for you. Every video covers one chapter, explained in simple words through 5 key points. Here's what you need to know from today's reading.
All right, let's just jump right in with a massive question, one that's been on the minds of everyone from ancient Greek philosophers to modern-day psychologists. What are we really after? What does it actually mean to live a good life?
Well, to get to the bottom of that, our first key point is going to introduce this really powerful idea. It comes all the way from the philosopher Aristotle, but modern science is just now catching up to it. It's a concept called eudaimonia.
So, eudaimonia, what is it? Now, it's super easy to mix this up with our everyday idea of happiness, but honestly, it's so much deeper than that. It's not just about feeling good, It's about living well. Think of it more like the actual process of becoming the best version of yourself, living a life that feels full of value and meaning.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because it lays out the fundamental choice we're all making, every single day. On one side, you've got hedonia. That's all about chasing pleasure, comfort, feeling good in the moment. Like eating a whole pint of ice cream, it's awesome right then, but it's not exactly a long-term strategy for well-being, right? Then on the other side, you've got eudaimonia, this bigger pursuit of growth, meaning, and authenticity. It's the huge difference between a life built on temporary highs and one built on a deep, lasting sense of fulfillment.
Okay, so if eudaimonia is the goal, how in the world do we actually get there? How do we live that way? That brings us to our second key point, which is all about the engine that drives this whole thing, according to a really amazing framework called self-determination theory.
So the big idea here is that for our minds to be healthy, we have to consistently give them these 3 essential, you could call them psychological nutrients. I love that term. It's just like how your body needs vitamins to thrive, well, your mind has its own set of non-negotiables for real wellness and growth. And here they are, the big 3. First up, autonomy. This is that need to feel like you're the one in the driver's seat of your own life, making choices that actually feel like you. Then you've got competence, that awesome feeling you get when you tackle a challenge and you feel effective, like you know what you're doing. And last but not least, relatedness. That's our deep human need to connect with others, to care for them and feel cared for. The absolute key takeaway here is this. When you intentionally look for ways to satisfy these 3 needs, you're not just hoping for a good life, you are actively building one. All right, let's keep building on this with our third key point, because it turns out satisfying those 3 big needs, autonomy, competence, and relatedness, it's not just some random thing that happens. Nope. It almost completely depends on the kinds of goals we decide to go after.
And get this, from a scientific, psychological perspective, not all goals are created equal. Not by a long shot. The things we chase, whether it's that big promotion, learning a new language, or building a stronger friendship, they have a direct and pretty predictable impact on whether we end up flourishing or just floundering.
And this is a really critical distinction to make. On one hand, you have what are called intrinsic goals. Think personal growth, deep relationships, contributing to your community. These things are satisfying in and of themselves because they directly feed our core psychological needs. But then, you have extrinsic goals. This is the stuff like chasing wealth, fame, or having the perfect image. It's all about getting that validation from the outside. And the research is so clear on this. These goals often leave us feeling neutral or even worse off. So you have to ask, why do we chase them so hard? Well, it's often because society screams at us that these are the ultimate prizes, right? It traps us in this loop, chasing things that science tells us is a pretty unreliable path to genuine happiness.
But hold on, this isn't all just on you. It's not purely an individual mission. Our fourth key point adds this super important layer. The world around you can either act like a greenhouse for your growth or a total desert.
I mean, think about it. The environments we're in every day, at work, at school, even in our own families, they are constantly shaping us. They can make it way easier to get those needs met and go after the right goals, or they can make it feel like an uphill battle.
And the effects here are just profound. It's not a small thing. When our environment supports our autonomy, competence, and relatedness, we see people grow, we see more wellness, more pro-social behavior. Our better angels, as they say, really get to thrive. But when you're in an environment that's controlling, isolating, what researchers call need thwarting, that's when our darker side can bubble up. It leads to things like defensiveness, aggression, and materialism.
And all of this leads us perfectly into our 5th and final key point, which kind of zooms us out from just focusing on ourselves to how we connect with everyone else.
You see, a truly eudaimonic life, a truly flourishing life, isn't just a self-centered project.
The research is crystal clear. If living well is about reaching our potential, then a huge part of our human potential is to actually contribute to the well-being of others. It's like it's baked right into our psychological DNA.
In fact, get this. Doing pro-social things, volunteering, helping out a neighbor, contributing to a cause you believe in, is one of the most reliable and powerful ways to live a eudaimonic life. It's like the ultimate win-win-win. It helps other people for sure, but it also directly feeds our own needs for relatedness and competence. And on top of all that, it's consistently linked to a huge boost in our own personal well-being and maybe even our physical health. How amazing is that?
Okay, so let's wrap this all up. To bring it all together, here are your 5 keys to building a good life, all backed by science. First, define your life by living well, not just chasing the next feel-good moment. Second, actively feed your 3 basic psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Third, be intentional about pursuing intrinsic goals like growth and connection. Fourth, do what you can to create and find environments that support your needs. And finally, remember that helping others is one of the best ways to help yourself flourish.
And that's it. That is the core idea of the eudaimonic life, a roadmap for human flourishing that's built on decades of solid research. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Take a look at your own life, your work, your relationships, your goals. What's the one thing in your life that most nurtures your better angels?